Welcome to the Murfreesboro City Council. It is May 22nd, 2025. Before we say our prayer and our pledge, today is my dad's 71st birthday. Sorry, Dad. All right. So happy birthday, Dad. All right. If you'll bow with me, and then we'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we come to you today, and we thank you for this opportunity to be here. Lord, help us make decisions that would be fitting to you. Give us wisdom and guidance to be able to make those decisions. I thank you for the people who are sitting in this audience who've worked so hard on a budget to be able to help our residents. Thank you for the blessing they are, not only to each of us sitting up here, but the blessing they are to our community. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this is our first meeting on the fiscal year 25-26 budget. A lot of people have worked really hard on this, and we want to publicly we're not going to vote on it until 5th of June, but that's when we'll have our public, is that right, 5th of June?
No, we'll have public hearing tonight.
Public hearing tonight for first reading. Then we'll vote for final on June 5th. But thank you to all y'all who've worked so hard on the budget. I know it's been a tough year and a lot was asked of each of you. So as we talk about something that was asked really hard for everyone, we'll turn it over to Darren.
I don't have a whole lot of comments to make other than to reiterate, being my first budget cycle as city manager, Aaron and Amanda and their team are just really invaluable. I did go through all the meetings, and I sat through and went through the pro forma, and my sand key diagram I have right here is the only thing that I really understand. But anyway, I appreciate what they did, and really, again, this is Aaron and Amanda's and their team's hard work. So I'll pass it off to Aaron.
Okay, well, thank you. I have a presentation. I think we're going to pull up on the screen here. Hopefully, yep. Okay, so here's a brief overview of the FY26 proposed budget. The left side of the screen shows some highlights, and the chart on the right shows a breakdown of the uses of various fund balances. On the highlights, revenues total $286 million, while expenses are budgeted a little over $400 million. So we have $116 million more in expenses than revenues. That's where the chart on the right comes into play. The recurring operating revenues and expenses are balanced and projected at $261 million. With that said, next year's budget uses $110 million of restricted and assigned fund balances for MED funded projects and CIP items. We're also including $5.8 million for a one-time use of unassigned fund balance for equipment and outside legal expenses. Are there any questions about any of this before I move into revenues? Okay. So starting with major revenue assumptions, we're budgeting close to $74 million for property tax next year. This is a growth of 3.6% over this year's projection and does not include a property tax rate increase next year. And what I hope taxpayers take as good news, we are proposing to move the property tax deadline from December 31 to the end of February, which should help with a lot of taxpayer confusion and align us with pretty much every other community in the state. That will require council approval at the 6 o'clock meeting tonight.
But they can still pay at the end of December if they want to.
They can.
So
actually, taxes are due on October 1st. They become delinquent right now on January 1st, or we would propose to make that March 1st, still on the delinquent date. So moving into sales tax, we continue to see sales tax fluctuate from month to month. We're projecting local sales tax to come in about 1% under this year's budget, but close to 2% over FY24. For next year, we're budgeting a 2.4% increase, making this our largest budgeted revenue again at over $75 million for next year. State sales tax is reflecting similar results to local. We're budgeting a little over 2% growth in that as well, with a budget of close to $20 million. This year's MTE payment distributes $5 million to road projects and $1.75 million to general fund, with the remaining $10.5 million going into the trust. In addition, we have around $2.8 million coming back from the trust to general fund as part of the required annual distribution. The funds coming into general fund are allocated for operating purposes. As part of the solid waste recovery model that Mr. Gore has presented to council the last couple of years, we've included the fee increase of $2 for residential and $5 for commercial customers next year. This has a $1.6 million impact to the budget, and council approved this fee increase in April. So here's a look at our,
Not to interrupt, but I don't know if y'all have been reading, Lebanon, going through their budget is, been a big discussion. They voted to actually mimic Murfreesboro and implement a solid waste fee. And they had said that since 2019 that their tipping fees at Middle Point have gone from $245,000 to $1.2 million a year is what their tipping fees have gone up. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
So here's a look at the other revenues. Local taxes and state shared revenues are staying relatively flat. Charges for services are showing an increase compared to the FY25 budget. We are showing fee increases for building and codes for mid-year, and then Parks and Golf also reflect rate increases that their commissions have already approved. The other revenues category is showing increases next year due primarily to an increase in budgeted interest revenues. Keep in mind that we are using those interest revenues for operating purposes as well, and that's a vulnerable revenue source similar to sales tax if rates change mid-year. So that was a really quick run through on revenues. Were there any questions about revenues before I move into expenses? All right. Darren alluded to this a few minutes ago, but just to give a little background about this year's budget process, we continue to maintain conservative revenue estimates for next year, but we wanted to also provide leaner expense projections based on our current expectations. As we've seen payroll costs increase, we asked departments to cut close to $4 million in their operating expenses from next year's budget. In addition, we moved around $1.5 million out of new budget requests to be considered in the fall as part of the CIP process. And, Darren and I both talking with department heads, reassured them if the budget cuts were too severe, we could come back later in the year with a budget amendment for council to consider as well. Here's a look at our total expenditures by division. We put a big emphasis again on public safety this year. You can see that police and fire make up 26% combined of the budget. And actually, when we take out the MED proceeds and CIP spending, that jumps up to 36% of our operating budget. Public infrastructure makes up 22%, and that includes our Town Creek spending, the MED and general fund and grant-funded road projects, as well as engineering and other transportation-related expenses. And then when council approved the CIP last fall, that included a $70 million bond issuance. I think it's likely that we won't borrow until after January in 2026, so we are budgeting closer to half a year of debt service versus a full year. And we're able to do that because we have $3.9 million in debt service rolling off on the FY27 budget. So that brings debt service to 10% of the overall budget and 14% of our operating budget. So y'all should have a copy of the supplemental requests on your desk. These are broken down between positions and all other requests. The large sheet shows all of the budgeted supplementals in one place. New budget requests total $16 million this year, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, almost $4 million of that we're recommending to come out of fund balance, and those are shown as the priority zero items. Priority 5 items total 1.5 million, and those are the items I recommend bringing back as part of the CIP in the fall, so those are not included in this budget. Priority 10 items total another 900,000, and those have been deferred and are not included in this year's budget. Our pay raises, new positions, and position adjustments make up 42% of our new budget requests. And of that, the public safety positions account for 17% overall for our supplementals and include 13 new certified officers, as well as several other non-certified, non-sworn positions in police and fire. Our other public safety requests make up 32% and include vehicles and various technology and equipment. And then you'll see priority 4 items listed on your sheet as well. Those are drug fund items that are not funded by general fund, so they're categorized there as that priority 4 to separate them out. So this is a look at our non-recurring items that we recommend funding from fund balance. These total 3.8 million, and 3.7 million of that is for public safety, police and fire, vehicles and equipment. And while this is not a new supplemental, we're showing 2 million coming out of fund balance to cover outside legal expenses, which is how we handled that in this year's budget as well. If I'm moving too fast, y'all just stop me. Here's a look at our payroll changes. We have a 2.5% pay raise and a 1.5% COLA built in for the city general pay plan, and 2.5% raise and 3.5% COLA for the public safety pay plan. Those total 5.3 million. We also have 32 new positions budgeted, as well as promotions and reclasses, and those are included at a combined cost of 3.1 million. The public safety positions I mentioned a few minutes ago make up 75% of our new position requests. And then we also budgeted a medical premium increase effective January 1st, which will increase employee expenses between $2 and a little under $9 per pay period. I laid out a summary of those increases on your desk there as well. Let me know if you have any questions about that, but it's a similar increase that we've done over the last few years. And I do want to point out that our slippage rate, we've talked about this last few months, our slippage rate has been nearly eliminated this year. We are budgeting 2% slippage for next year's budget, and that's mainly due to what turnover we do have throughout the year, but also understanding that not all of these 32 new positions are going to be hired and in place on July 1st. There'll be some lag time before those get hired. Are there any questions about the payroll items? All right, so here you can see the remaining priority 1 items, excluding our personnel priorities. These total to around 924,000. I hate to sound like a broken record, but public safety leads the charge here as well. About 85% of these requests are for equipment and technology needs, most of which are for police and fire, including LPRs, cameras. We have AEDs for the police officers, and then we're also including paramedic school for our firefighters. There are some vehicle requests as well included for building and codes, planning, and engineering staff. And we have several projects that'll carry over to next year's budget from this year and from previous years. Some of these have been going on for several years, in fact. These total up to a little over $10 million. These have already been or will be pulled out of unassigned fund balance so that we're matching revenues and expenses in the FY26 year. And then this next item was not included on the supplemental request, but it is a proposed new budget item. We budgeted year 1 of a 5-year proposed plan to offer retirees that began drawing pension benefits before 2022 a $500 annual payment, and then we're proposing to increase this over the next 4 years based on the previous year's CPI with a max 3% increase per year. So this chart shows what that max payment could be. It could come in lower just depending on how inflation and everything else works out. So we're showing about 335 participants that started drawing benefits before 2022. I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm estimating around 20% of those are water retirees. So those would be their $500 payment would be covered under the water budget, leaving around $135,000 funded from the city budget in FY26. And that could escalate up to around $150,000 in the city's general fund budget by FY30. Are there any questions about this item? All right, well, y'all have been very easy on me today. I thank you. Our next steps include a public hearing tonight, followed by first reading of the budget ordinance, the tax rate ordinance, and then also it will require an ordinance approval for the tax due date change if council approves. And then we'll have second reading planned for the June 5th meeting. And that will include the city schools budget and the water budget on June 5th.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you all think that we can look in the future, near future, about some type of security in here?
In
City
here?
Hall, whether it's scanning someone or before they come in? I mean, are you all comfortable here all the time?
I'm one person.
You guys?
Sometimes planning commission gets a little heated. Not gonna lie.
I would just like to see us at least look into, and if the council majority, if you don't feel that way, that's okay, but I have concerns about security in here sometimes.
We are planning a downstairs remodel, so maybe we could have that be factored in as part of that configuration
Yeah.
with that remodel.
I would feel more comfortable, but I may be the only one up here not too comfortable sometimes.
I think it's worth it to consider it, Madeline, when we do the remodel. Yeah, I think it's worth it to consider maybe some low-level metal detectors or,
I mean, when Sean was different and how he's all skinny, I can't even hide behind him anymore now. It's a joke, Jamie.
where's HR?
So let's look into that. Sometimes I'm just not comfortable up here.
All right.
I got just one thing, and I said I was going to bring this up. Talk with people at downtown and Main Street, and I just want to make sure that we've got, mainly for our police department, I shared an email I sent to Darren, I guess it was, I can't remember when it was, maybe Saturday, but we've had an uptick again in panhandling on a lot of our corners, and so had asked to find a way in our budget to be able to put in Knoxville, someone had sent me a picture of panhandling signs that are put at the intersections that cite the ordinance that basically state panhandling is illegal. And then, you know, I don't want to sound cold-hearted about this, but, you know, we have a lot of organizations inside the city of Murfreesboro that are working on vagrancy and homelessness. And, you know, our increase this year has gone from where we used to be from 200,000 to 490,000. And so I think the council has definitely stepped up to say, we're going to put our money where our mouth is and we're going to help fund these organizations. But, you know, I think I had 3 requests or complaints last week where people are not feeling comfortable downtown walking to their cars or at the farmer's market. I think there was an issue with some people at Main Street had sent something where there were people who were asking and not feeling comfortable at the farmer's market. So, I mean, now's the time to talk about that at budget, that we continually hear that other communities are sending their homeless population to Murfreesboro. We've confirmed that, and we've got to find a way that we address the people who need help. We absolutely want to help, but the people who don't want help, and we've got to find how to figure that out. And so the only thing I can say is, like, when you're driving down Thompson Lane, the Regions Bank building, there were 6 or 8 people camped out up underneath the old Regions Bank building the other night. And so we need to find a way to address some of this. And I don't know what that answer is, but I know other municipalities are making it really tough for people to be in their community, and they're sending them to Murfreesboro, and that doesn't seem like that's fair to the residents of Murfreesboro. So I guess my question is, do we have what the police department needs to be able to help with some of these issues? And do we have money in our budget to be able to put the appropriate signage out at our intersections?
Well, I see Chief Bowen coming to the podium, but I will say, yes, we will have money to be able to get signage. And I believe, Chief and I have talked about this. It occurs to me that we may want to look at other communities' resources that they offer to the homeless, because if people are sending people to Murfreesboro, it's because we are providing some type of service or benefits that other communities aren't. And I absolutely 100% agree that we want to, the transient homeless, the people that are experiencing a tough time, we want to be able to get them the resources and the aid they need to get out of that condition. The chronic homeless is, I think, what we're talking about. And I know that the chronic homeless, to me, when they represent a danger, or if they make people feel unsafe, that's where public safety, we have to step in. I think the challenge with that is we have these services that provide kind of meals, and then so it's a half service, if you will. They don't provide a full service, including a place to stay. And so they come here for the meals, and then they basically disperse amongst the downtown area and other areas. So I think it's tough on the police to, if you have somebody that's chronically, or someone that's consistently, the camps or areas where the homeless consistently congregate, then I think it's easy to go disperse that group. But where it's tough is where you have someone that comes in for 30 or 40 minutes somewhere, and the police have to just catch that person at that particular moment. It's not somebody that stays there all day or stays there for multiple hours. So, Chief, I know we've set some downtown, what's the term that we set up? Was it precinct or 119?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you may want to expand a little bit on what we're doing.
Yeah. So, answer your first question: do we have enough resources to be able to do the job that we need to do regarding homeless? Yes. I think especially as, we probably have 30, 40 people in training right now, but I think once they roll off, that'll put us in a pretty good position. I think we have to change our strategy some. I think that we've basically had our officers out there, especially with the homeless task force, that are basically dealing with focused on the mental health aspect of it, and reaching out and making contacts in the homeless community, and making sure that some of our chronic individuals that give us chronic issues as far as the way they conduct themselves, things like that, I think they tried to focus on them a lot, and they do a great job of it. But we know that, according to estimates from staff, we have between 300 to 600 people out there that are homeless. And the issue is they're never on their own property. They're either going to be on public property doing things that we don't need them doing, or they're going to be on somebody's private property. So the big issue is, how do we keep up with that volume? So I think a lot of that's going to have to do with our strategy. I think I'm just going to have to increase that homeless task force numbers and basically give them each separate missions. I'm going to have a group focused on the homeless, on the mental health issues, and say, hey guys, you all deal with this. This group, just want you around town. You're going to deal with the camping, the trespassing issues, and then the rest of you get out here on the panhandling issues, things like that, and just take a just a different approach, and just make sure everybody has a specific focus in dealing with these issues. And I think that strategy will work a lot. One of the big things I would encourage is a lot of the times I hear about issues with homeless, it's secondhand. And I just encourage people to call us directly because we're willing to help. I'm willing to send out somebody immediately if they're experiencing an issue, and I've got staff that are willing to help out with those type of things. But I think that the resources we got what we need. I think once people start rolling off the training program, we can expand that unit. Like I said, just prioritize different focuses for different groups of individuals and let them deal with, like I said, let one group deal with the mental illness issues, let one group deal with camping issues, and one deal with the panhandling and some of the other things that come along with homelessness.
Is the percentage low for arrests for the homeless?
Fairly low. I think that you'll see that our goal has always been to try to find long-term solutions for these individuals. Locking them up and having them ROR'd or just released back almost immediately, that really doesn't work. So I think in the back of our mind, we're always trying to find a way to get somebody some type of long-term help. And that's a win for us if we can put them in contact with family or somebody that can come help them. That's a win for us and gets them off the street.
Chief, do we need to increase our presence downtown during the summer months?
So I think downtown, I think the biggest thing that we need to do is increase the hours of coverage, and I think that we probably need to expand more into the nighttime, and that's definitely something we can do. A lot of activity at nighttime. People enjoy the square, come and visit, and we appreciate that fact, and I think we can increase that coverage.
I think the police presence during the market would be helpful, a little bit more presence there during the Saturday's market.
Right.
Panhandling is not necessarily a homeless issue. Sometimes those people are just panhandling.
Exactly.
And so I think to have somebody to interrupt that cycle of saying this is permissible activity in our downtown, I mean, it may be a different attack to how to approach it as a homeless issue as opposed to some activity that's not permitted in this area, and then the police presence could address those particular instances where they are doing something that they should. I think it's some of that signage that we had that was shared from Knoxville related to vehicular traffic, and so I don't know exactly how we would address the signage. Anyway, some thought needs to be given to this.
And the vehicular traffic is the issue. The people stopping that are giving the donations. I know they have good intentions, but I mean, you can't stop in traffic to give donations.
But I think some of the things in the market area weren't related to vehicles.
No, the issues in the market were people walking, just asking for money. And so, that needs to be something. I think I relayed that to the Main Street, Main Street basically, hey, let us know that when that happens, and we can try to.
Right, I can put somebody up there during those time periods.
I think what you're seeing downtown, and this is where, especially ladies, whoever are walking back at night from work, or anyone, but what we've been seeing is people sitting on the sidewalks in front of cars when people are walking to their cars. And I mean, yesterday, Chief helped, but we had someone from Massachusetts in one of our lots that parked a Winnebago that had shut all their windows and blinds, and they were, basically camping in the parking lot. And you don't really want to go knock on somebody's door saying, who are you? So those are the things I think you're really starting to see downtown. And this is just my opinion. I don't want to be, again, cold-hearted, but if we turn and we are not aggressive on making sure that we don't let that happen, then the word gets out, just like years ago when the panhandling networks, that they would come to Murfreesboro because they go where the path of least resistance is. So I think we want to be compassionate. We're doing that. We're doing that with the organizations. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that we protect the people in our community.
And Mayor, I did talk with Raymond, and Aaron shared some Bowling Green signage on panhandling. I think we can go do provide you all some examples and maybe have a workshop item and make sure that the signage that we propose meets your approval.
And I think Darren kind of touched on it. When you have organizations, and I'm not knocking them by any means. I appreciate what they're doing. They're trying to help people who are down on their luck. But when you have services that are being provided and people come receive those services and they're temporary kind of services, and then there's a break, they're just going to hang out until, like, if you're getting fed breakfast or whatever at a certain place, you're just going to hang out in the area until that second meal comes along, that third meal comes along. So, and they really don't disperse far. They just hang around in a concentrated area, and that's challenging. It's challenging. I think on Vine Street we had that incident where people just congregate, waiting for those doors to open and those services to become available. So that's a huge challenge for us, especially when it's on private property.
And in the future, to kind of deviating from that subject, I'd like to see us do more with mental health. See what we can do as a city with mental health. That's a population that's really growing in our schools,
Yeah.
in our neighbors, churches, the mental health problem.
Yeah, and I'll have to give staff a lot of credit on that, especially with our co-responders. They are very, very focused and in tune with the mental health crisis, and they do a real good job of trying to get people resources. We're not always successful in being able to get people to a facility or getting them help, but I mean the effort's definitely being made there. And I think one of the first things you'll see staff do is when they come on is they'll go to some of these concentrations of homeless, and they'll try to pick out people who may be having mental health crisis events, things like that, and they try to reach out to them and deal with them directly with our co-responders.
I think it'd be helpful maybe to bring some of these agencies, we all know the names that are trying to address this, bring them along in this process as we're increasing signage or increasing police presence. Let them understand and help communicate to their folks, the ones that they're serving or trying to serve, you know, what we're doing and why we're doing it. So
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful, is not to leave them out of the loop as we're going forward with what we're trying to do.
And as far as the camping goes, and I'm kind of switching gears on you, I mean, that's anywhere from Square out to Blackman Community, out to South Church. It's not concentrated in one area. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And that's the tough part with that most people don't realize. If you're a property owner and you've got people who are camping on your property, you know, one, you're the one who has to make the decision to trespass someone. But the other part too is you're responsible for cleaning that up. I mean, it's not the city who's going to come in and clean up your property. So it really is best for the homeowner or the owner to let the city know when you need help.
Right. And I think Nate can attest. Where's Nate? Way back there. Yeah, I mean, some of the areas you've gone into to clean up, you've gotten how many truckloads worth of stuff? And we're talking about huge trash trucks. So yeah, your point's valid.
So I'll offer, and I'll be the cold-hearted one. I'm tired of it. I was downtown Monday night to go eat dinner. Person approached me and asked for money. I said, I don't have any cash, which is true. I don't carry cash anymore like most people. And my wife hands them cash because they were out of gas, supposedly. And then they go the other direction to where they said their car had broke down and was out of gas. So that's one example. And then I saw him 45 minutes later, still out of gas, still asking for money. So I'm tired of it. It makes me not want to go downtown. If I'm up on the square on Saturday for farmer's market, it makes me not want to go there just to deal with the hassle. And I'm just one, but you start doing that over and over and over, folks aren't going to want to go downtown. And we want people downtown. I've heard Kurt say it, he wants people downtown. And I want people downtown. I want them to feel safe downtown. I would offer that, yes, we can put up signs, but when they're walking into businesses, and I've been in businesses downtown where they're walking in, asking for money, you know, we owe it to the business owners to give them that same sign that says that panhandling is illegal. You know, please, this is a place of business. So I think there's an opportunity. You can put signs up on roadway intersections. You can also offer signage to businesses they want to put a sign, you know, at their place of business, you know, that please don't come in here and ask for money, please don't panhandle. I think it's a reasonable alternative, and I agree with you, Shane. You know, it's, the property owner has to make that call. I go to First Baptist. They've got a gentleman that likes to sleep over there routinely. And then I hear church members come up to me saying, this person is doing this and this. That's up to the church to have to do something with that, because that's the church's property. But if all property owners did that and all business owners took a stance on it, you can put a dent in this from a panhandling perspective. So that's my thoughts on it.
Any other questions about the budget? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate what y'all do.
Yes, sir.
Or I should say the administrative side. We need to move to schools next.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Oh, that's okay.
You gonna talk about sheriff pennies?
You know, not, but I can. Always prepared to. Always prepared to. That's right. Good afternoon. Excited to present to you our preview of the budget for this year and the work that's gone into it to get ready for tonight. Our board has already approved the budget, so we are presenting to you what the board has approved for your consideration as well. Our budget goals this year remain similar to what they've been in the past, which first and foremost is just making sure that we're maximizing our educational outcomes for our students, that we're offering competitive salaries and employee benefits, that we're looking at all of our funding sources, especially with the federal funds. That's something we're watching carefully as we consider what's happening in that space. And then also making sure we do that while planning for the future and maintaining at least a 10% fund balance, which is what our board has set as their goal. Enrollment projections, I've shared a preview of this earlier, but it's important to know because this is where our funding comes from. Moving into next year, we are projecting right around 9,440 students, which is about a 1.3% increase. I will say it's getting a little more difficult to project our enrollment year over year. Obviously, the new Education Freedom Scholarship account, we're going to see how that's going to impact us. If it will, we're not expecting a big impact, but it could, and as well as the enrollment into our local charter schools. Over the past 6 years, our actual 6-year growth is actually less than about 1% a year, but that's really because we started considering COVID in that trend where we had a huge decrease. So you take COVID out, we're looking at almost a 1.5% growth on an annual basis. We've talked before about our weighted full-time equivalency, which is the percentage of students weighted that we are serving K-12 for the entire Rutherford County area. So we are now at the highest we have been since I've been in this role, which is right at 15%. So moving into our budget, we'll start with our salary adjustments, looking at what we are, for our salary adjustments for next year. Employee compensation is about 86% of our budget. Obviously, we're a business that employs teachers, employs educators, and that takes money. So right now, we're looking at variable increases somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. I say variable because we did slightly lower increases at the top end of our pay scale where we already had larger step raises. Overall, teachers will see on average about a 3.8% increase next year. Our starting teacher pay will be $50,500, which puts us slightly ahead of the state average. Next year, by state law, it's required that the starting teacher pay be $50,000, so we are at that benchmark early. For all employees not on the teacher salary scale, they'll see a 2.5% increase, and then we will continue our state-required differentiated pay plan for hard-to-staff positions. That's additional compensation we provide to special education teachers, behavior teachers who are served in hard-to-staff positions. Some highlights from our revenue. We are expecting about a 3.7% increase in our state funding, which is our highest funding source, our largest funding source. That's an increase of about $2.3 million. We are budgeting our combined local tax revenues, that's property tax, sales tax, mixed drinks tax, that kind of combined pot of local tax revenue dollars at our maintenance of effort with no increase from the current year or from FY24. We are within that pocket, shifting $1 million away from property tax and putting that in our sales tax and other buckets. So the bottom line for maintenance of effort stays the same, but you will see lower amounts in property tax, as Mr. Maxwell said, because of that shifting of the penny. Our local sales tax revenue is now our largest form of local tax revenue. We're budgeting about $17.6 million, or right at $17.6 million, which is still conservative. We always budget sales tax conservatively. I will say it is less conservative than it has been in years past. So I want to be very transparent with that, but we are still projecting to meet or beat that, and that will help with the decrease in our property tax revenue. So overall, we're looking at about a 3.46% increase in our projected revenues from the FY25 budget, and all of that is found in the state of Tennessee allocation is where that increase is coming from. With our expenditures, it's just some highlights for our expenditures. As I mentioned, the biggest piece of that is our salary increases for our staff at 2.5%. With that also, we are, is not mentioned, but 5% increases to medical insurance as well. We do have some new positions we're budgeting for. We have 3 additional English as second language teaching positions, and then 3 additional positions for behavioral supports. We have a new state textbook adoption. That's going to be about $1 million in new expenses for us this year. Technology and security updates, continuing to update our cameras, continue to update our access control and our radios that we use for communications during emergencies. So that continues to be a high part of our budget. Overall, about a 4.3% increase in our expenditures from last year. That does not include the capital money that for the transportation and maintenance facility we purchased at 910 Ridgely Road. So if you look at the budget sheet, it looks like our expenditures did not go up 4.3%. For this conversation, I took that $3.1 million for Ridgely Road out so you could kind of see operating budget to operating budget. So overall, we're looking at $111,943,000 in revenues and $117,907,000 in expenditures for the upcoming fiscal year. That does pull, you can see from that deficit, $5.9 million out of our reserves. I will say part of those revenues and expenditures, $1.8 million of that is related to the one-time bonus that the state of Tennessee is giving as part of that Education Freedom Scholarship account. We will serve as a pass-through, so the state will give us that money and we will pass that on to eligible teachers, so that's included in there as well. $5.9 million is more than we have historically pulled from our reserves, even with our conservative budget. Again, we've had those conversations, and that's the impact it's having on us this year. Just so the council is aware, here is our current fund balance. We are sitting at the last audit, $29.4 million in our assigned fund balance, with 22.8 of that being unassigned. We've worked hard over the last 4 years to really grow that fund balance. When I came in, it was something we targeted as an area that felt like we could improve, and we've seen about 150% increase in the last 4 years in that area, which is why we feel comfortable going into next year pulling that amount out of our reserves. So as of where we stand right now, we have roughly 17% of our operating budget in fund balance. With the $5.9 million we'll have to use this year, it will take us down to about 13.9%, which is still above our board's goal of having a 10% fund balance, but you're seeing that trajectory there. But we do feel confident going into next year. We were very tight on places where we may have put some slack in our budget for potential unknowns. We have tightened that up very much this year, and we have very little slack in the budget. So I'm happy to answer any questions on our GP budget before I move quickly into our federal programs and ESP budget. All right.
With the growth you were talking about, in reality, I don't want to put you on the spot, but the way we are growing every year, a new school will be needed within 2 years, you think?
Well, at the retreat last year with the city council, I said I would have a much better picture this coming August. And I think, as I mentioned, because there are so many unknowns, when you're looking at the voucher program, the charter schools that are coming in, it's been really hard for us to predict. So we really feel like this August we'll have a better viewpoint of where we are and where we have room to grow, and if needed, where we could look at an addition if it was needed, or even shifting classrooms around.
That makes sense.
Doing some rezoning. But it's something we're watching, and as I told the council last year at the retreat, I mean, my commitment is to use every bit of space we have before we talk about anything new, and then to make sure we've looked at every option. Federal funds is another part of our budget that we are looking at. We are getting next year projecting to get, and it is definitely a projection, right about $4.9 million in federal funds. The largest portion of that is our Title I funds, which goes to our 8 high-needs Title I schools. There's about $1.8 million there. You can see we also have money from the federal government for professional development, for servicing English language learners. The other large portion is IDEA, which is our special education program. So you're looking at a combined total of about $1.9 million there. And then our 21st Century Grant is for after-school tutoring. So combined, that's $4.9 million. We feel really confident with what we've heard from the federal government that the two large parts, the Title I money and the IDEA money, will remain at consistent funding levels. We don't expect that money to increase, but we are getting the messaging that that will continue to come. We are less confident about Title II, Title III, and the 21st Century Grant, but we are budgeting at the state's guidance with what we've received this year. Our ESP budget is a standalone program that we offer to our families, and it is completely self-funded. That is our after-school and before-school program. So we open up our doors at 6 a.m. every morning. We close them at 6 o'clock every night for families. And you can see there, we are budgeting roughly $6.4 million in revenues. And our expenditures are about $6.4 million as well. And we're looking to add to our fund balance going into next year for our ESP program. We have a fantastic ESP coordinator. It's a great service to our families, and something that we're really proud to offer. And finally, our school nutrition budget. We are proud to say that we offer free breakfast and lunch to every student in Murfreesboro City Schools, regardless of that family's income level. And this year, our revenues, we're expecting right at $7 million in revenues and $8.9 million expenditures. You can see we are pulling roughly $1.8 million from our fund balance. I will say that's intentional and that's required. If you look at the bottom, you can see we have roughly $6.4 million in our fund balance for school nutrition, and it's not appropriate for this program to keep that high of a fund balance, and the state is actually requesting that we continue to spend that down, so we will continue to spend that down to get it to the level which is about 3 months worth of expenses, so closer to about $2.5 million. So that is a very intentional spend down there. But I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have regarding the city schools budget.
You all are doing a fantastic job with the little money you have.
Thank you very much.
The shared penny, not to bring that back up, but I will bring it back up, that was taken from you this year, how much was it in totality? $1 million, $2 million?
So this year, we go back to where we were in FY20. Let me pull I think I have it here. If we go back to where we were exactly, it's about 2.9 million year over year is what we're seeing, kind of from where we were at our peak 2 years ago.
So 2.9 million this year roughly?
Yes.
Okay. So the question I have for you, before I go on this diatribe, is what could you have done with 2.9 million?
Well, I think one of the things we're looking at is we're looking at obviously raises for our employees. We've historically haven't given, since I've been here, over a 3% raise. And so when you think about the cost of living and this year giving a 2.5%, that's the first and foremost what we can do is take care of our staff. Obviously, we have a lot more security upgrades that we would like to continue to do. Our schools are safe, our schools are secure, but that's one area where we always feel like what's the next best thing we could do to provide for that. And then we're seeing continued needs specifically around students with enhanced behavioral needs, students who have learning difficulties that we need to better staff those rooms to help make sure we're meeting all the needs of those families.
So there's things you could have done with it: security, employees, behavioral issues. And I'm sorry to keep bringing it up. I'm just not going to let it go. Every time the county commission takes the shared penny and basically helps balance their budget on the citizens of Murfreesboro, who are also county taxpayers, that's just unfair to those folks that deserve to have their funds going into the city schools for those constituents. So I'll just leave it at that. You've done a great job. Hopefully we'll get to a point to where they aren't doing that.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
I agree, Austin, 100%.
Tired of it.
I think we need to, Trey and I have talked about this, and I think as a council and school board, I know the school board met with several county commissioners, but we need to put together our information and share our story. That, I mean, you know, I'm looking at a property tax sheet that Darren gave us, and 45.7% of the property taxes collected in Rutherford County are paid by Murfreesboro residents. 18.7% Smyrna, 10.88% Laverne, and then 24.31% is the unincorporated area of our county. So when you add this up, you know, the 75% of the property taxes collected are in the municipalities. And I think we all know how hard it is for the county to budget, to deal with their budget right now, because they have to rely on that property tax. They don't rely on the sales tax. But I think what we need to do is to tell our story from a standpoint of how much it would cost the county resident if the city of Murfreesboro stopped educating 10,000 students, and that had to go back to the county. Because I don't care what a former county school budget director has to say in his infinite wisdom about his magic bullet or magic tricks. You cannot look at the data and say that the county, one, could educate 10,000 students with the existing facilities that they have. And I think the county staff would say that. And then you can't look at the numbers and say that the TISA funding is going to cover what we're paying right now to educate these students. So I'm sure the county commissioners, once we can get all of this data together and share with them, we need to find ways to work together more as opposed to, you know, penalizing one group. And I'm saying that with, I think Dr. Sullivan, y'all work well together, and I think he does a phenomenal job. We just have to find ways, for example, where you've got Barfield, that is a city, that is a school inside the city, that is completely surrounded by the city. Blackman, for example, is a county school inside the city that's completely surrounded by the city. There's got to be a better way for us to work together to be able to budget and figure ways where students are not jumping back and forth between schools. So I think we all will get this information, you know, and this whole thing about the other part is we hear constantly about consolidation. And the data that we've been shared based on consolidation that has happened inside the state of Tennessee, there's not one example where it has saved the taxpayers money, not one. And then also, I think it would be good for all of the council members and the county commissioners and former finance directors who don't know what they're talking about to be able to read what the processes and legal requirements that you would have to go through to consolidate schools. I mean, it is the people in Laverne and Smyrna are not going to want to take over the city of Murfreesboro school system and pay for it. So I think it's important that we need to make sure and get that information out. And I didn't understand all of it until, you know, Trey had put a lot of this together to show here's the processes that have to go through. And it is a extremely tough process to go through. Not to mention $2.8 million, I think is the number, Trey, that came up with, that the county would have to increase their salaries to be comparable to what Murfreesboro is charging now. That's every single year that would happen by state law. So there's a lot of information we really need to get out on this and quit, in my opinion, going off of innuendo and dodging. Hey, we just need to say, here's what the data is, and if y'all feel comfortable you want to take on another $20 million a year conservatively, then let's have the discussion.
Well, I'll say I think and we want to have, as you said, Dr. Sullivan and I work great together. We believe, we know there is a great educational benefit. When you look at what the city of Burkeville is doing, there's a financial benefit to the Rutherford County taxpayers. And as you said, the data is pretty clear what the outcome of that is. And so, we look forward to and welcome conversations to how we can partner together to make this better for everybody, the county included.
I think we're all on board with that. So as we talk about this shared penny, I hope the county commissioners who watch this, we're not pointing fingers at the county commissioners. We realize y'all have a tough job and they have a tough job. We do too. But there's got to be a better way for us to all talk about this, to understand that the 10,000 students that are in Murfreesboro City Schools are county residents and pay 47%, 46%. Their families pay 46% of the property taxes in Rutherford County. So they shouldn't be penalized for having a school system. Quite frankly, they should be hugged for having a school system. So that's the discussion we need to have. And, I shouldn't say negative things about others, but like the data, you need to come at why that this is a good thing, and we've not seen any of that. So, thank you, Trey.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to water resources. Valerie's first budget.
Yeah,
And you got a PowerPoint.
I do.
Tradition.
If I could find it. It's just a fairly simple PowerPoint. Darren likes Prezi, and I was gonna look at Prezi Turbo, and it went too fast. It made me sick.
Darren puts in flashing lights and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to keep you.
All right, so we'll get started. On our first slide here, it's a representation just up front that our revenues balance to our expenses, approximately $65 million. Most of our revenue comes in from our water and sewer. Water revenue is about $18.8 million. It's a little less than half of our sewer, and part of that reason is because our sewer is in our consolidated utility district boundary. We have about half of our customers are in CUD service area. So on the sewer side, we bring in about $34.9 million. And then on the right-hand side of that column, you can see what our expenses are and how they're split out. We've got sewer O&M, water O&M, billing and collection, admin and general expenses, capital expenditures, debt service, and then tap transfer and sinking fund where we transfer into reserves. And here is something that'll make Darren happy. We figured out the sand key diagram. This, again, shows that our sewer revenue is double what our water revenue is. And this also shows how it's split out, how it comes in and how it goes to our expenses. And it also shows part of our tap revenue at the top, how it transfers over into reserves and how that's split up. Part of that is special assessments, water taps, sewer taps, future capital expenditures, sinking funds, and interest income reserved. In our expense categories, this table shows our percent change from FY25 to FY26. All of our expenses have increased, and you can see under at the very bottom there that our transfers to reserves are down 11.2%, and this is because our expenses are more than our revenues and future CIP. And then just, it's going to mean less money earmarked for sinking funds. On our total revenues, the total revenue is budgeted to be higher than our FY25 budget, but a little lower than what is projected for FY25. Our water sales are up 3.5% from last year's budget. And believe it or not, our sewer sales are only up 1.2% from last year's budget. Personnel additions from last year, we've got 7 positions that we're requesting to be added in this budget. 4 are at operations and maintenance. We are starting a new sewer clean-out program where we find all of our clean-outs that have been covered up. A lot of times those clean-outs, when they are covered up and we get an emergency call, it's an emergency dig to try and find the sewer service to see where it's stopped up. We would like to start a valve exercise program, and we would hire 2 folks there. And then because of growth in our sewer system, we are proposing to add a foreman to assist one of the managers. On the engineering side, we are requesting 1 position, and that's a part-time engineer's position. And we have a part-time engineer in training now, but we don't want that to fill one of our vacant engineers' positions, so we are asking for that. Right now, we will have 3 engineers versus my old position and two engineers. On the water treatment plant side, we are asking for a cross-connection control to test backflow prevention devices, and again, that is because of growth. And on the admin side, you can see I've kind of got a dashed line between admin and operations and maintenance. We are asking for a replacement of a subject matter expert for our CityWorks software, and we would share that with operations and maintenance because they are heavily into the CityWorks software. This slide shows our FY26 reserve expenses and sinking funds. You can see a large portion of our reserves comes from sewer tap sales, special sewer assessment district connections, water tap sales, and we reserve some of this money for future CIP. And other is kind of sinking funds, and you can see on the right-hand side, portions of that will go towards Cherry Lane, pump station and force mains along the corridor between Memorial and Broad Street. We have some for sewer rehab continually each year, sinking fund for pump station replacements, and then also for biosolids processing equipment and storage. You can see this is a snapshot of our working capital reserves as of March 31st, 2025. From our audit in July 1st of 24, we had right at 89 million. We've added 4 million from TAP proceeds, so our total available reserves is 93 million. We have some remaining commitments at 16 million, so our available reserves is right at 77 million. We have a policy to reserve 12 months of operating expenses, so that is the 33.8 million. So our excess reserves is in the amount of 43 million. Some of our accomplishments this year are our full-scale biosolids drying operations at the wharf, where those are under construction. We've completed the construction of the Salem-Barfield Sewer Basin Interceptor Sewers. Completed a large construction project to rehab our Hobos Pipe sewer mains, and that was a portion of that was with ARPA funds. We have wet weather capacity improvements at the wharf under construction. We've completed the design of the water and sewer and repurified water main relocates for the Thompson Lane widening. And this was supposed to be on the goals side, to create a sewer assessment district for the Butler Drive area, sewer force main extension. And to our goals, we hope to complete the design of the WRF, our old headworks, and recommission that building. Complete the design/redesign of Cherry Lane Phase 2 and 3 sewer, repurified water, and sewer force main, and along with the city, that will be bid out at the time the city is ready. Design, bid, and award the construction of the replacement of Thompson Lane and Battlefield pump stations. And determine which on-site hypochlorite generation manufacturer that we will go with at the water treatment plant, and design the replacement of that system. Apply and receive our NPDES expanded permit limits at the WRF, hopefully, and obtain easements for the Thompson Lane widening. If you have any questions. That's the water
Any
resources.
questions for Valerie?
Questions?
All right, you want to move to stormwater? Are you
Sure.
doing that one as well?
Yep. All right, these are going to look very similar. Our stormwater revenues balance to our expenses, approximately $4.1 million. The stormwater fee brings in, and you'll see on the left-hand side from the fees, $3.9 million. And then the expenses are on the right-hand side, storm sewer rehab and repair, rate-funded capital assets, operating expenses, consulting services, general fund services, transfer some of that into working capital reserves, and then salary and benefits. This is historical representation of our revenues to our expenses from FY23 to FY26 budget. You can see the operating revenues are fairly consistent until this year, and they've somewhat increased. Expenses are up 9% from the FY25 budgeted expenses. As you can see, this is the 5-year CIP. And Darren went over this at the workshop, and there are 3 projects that are slated for this year and next year. It's the Town Creek, daylighting of Town Creek, Mall Circle Drive drainage improvements, and Old Fort Park Ball Field storm drainage improvements. And you can see that the FY26 CIP is slated for $3.6 million. FY27 is $3.34 million, and a total of all of the projects through FY29 is $9.3 million. This kind of represents the reserve balance from its inception of the stormwater program in FY8 up to FY26 and 27 pro forma. As you can see, from about 2017 to this last year, our reserve balance stayed around $4 million. Going with the 3 projects that I just mentioned, you can see that in FY26 and really in 27, that the capital reserve balance drops, and it will drop below the 3-month operating expenses, and therefore that's the reason for the fee increase that Darren mentioned at the workshop. And so we may need to either increase the fee next year again, or some projects may need to get pushed, or the fund will have to borrow money to complete the projects on the 5-year CIP. Our accomplishments for stormwater were we updated the city code to improve stormwater runoff from development sites and to protect our streamside buffers. We hosted annual Trees for Streams events focused on educating streamside property owners and providing trees for planting along streams. We routinely inspect the stormwater control measures and streamside buffers at 100-plus active sites, construction sites. Partnered with Parks and Rec to catch litter in the Murphy Springs wetland area, and hosted our inaugural stormwater and coffee talks with landscapers and property managers responsible for stormwater control maintenance. Some of the goals is to host a biannual stream cleanup in Garrison Creek, launch a drone program for detecting illicit discharges, improve enforcement response program for illicit discharges and stormwater control maintenance, resume cursory biological stream sampling to update stream quality baselines, and have a consultant study Todd Lake and create a resource management plan. So, any questions?
Any questions?
Describe what that would be for Todd Lake a little bit more. I've gotten calls from folks, but in particular about the corner that's on around Rutherford. I guess the runoff from the road is creating a lot of overgrowth and
Yeah.
I guess just conditions in those neighbors' backyards. So what
Well-
exactly would that be?
Well, I'm not sure what it would look like. We hope to have a consultant study the lake and make a recommendation on what that management plan would look like, whether it would be to leave the growth there or to clean it. If we left the growth, it would probably act more like maybe a wetland. But we're hoping that the consultants can tell us what best way to manage it.
We've not bid that. We don't know what the consultant's gonna charge us for that, do we?
No, not at this
yet,
time.
okay. Thank you.
Have we already engaged a consultant to do that study?
We are looking into that, yes.
We have, okay, so, yeah, because I've been getting calls as well, and I think, is it Griggs and Maloney, is it Griggs and Maloney, Josh?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're looking at what is the purpose and what is the ultimate outcome that we want to see with Todd's Lake, and then, again, count the cost and see what the resources are going to be needed to actually get us to where what we want Todd's Lake to look like. Because I know taking out invasive species or taking out certain plant and vegetation is a high cost, and it comes back. And so it becomes a recurring thing. So whatever we do, it's likely it'll be expected for us to continue to basically take ownership effectively of that lake and keeping it maintained. So I think getting a comprehensive study and assessment.
And one half of the lake, I believe, is privately owned.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Any questions for Valerie? Great work.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
we have item 2, other fiscal year 26 budget discussions.
I think that was just open if there were any other discussions council wanted to have. We don't have anything prepared for that.
If we had, let's say, a catastrophe and we had to kind of shut down some of the things, I know last year with our budget, we would be comfortable with 6 months. We'd be able to meet all the bills and the payroll and all. Are we about at that same 6 months with our revenue this year?
I would assume it'd be similar. I don't think our cash flow has changed that much since the audit was complete. So I would say it'd be a similar setup, and if the catastrophe happened, we would, probably have a spending and hiring freeze outside of anything essential also to reduce our exposure there.
Any questions for Aaron? So Aaron, to summarize, no tax increase. We do have a reappraisal that's going to be coming up next year, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I've probably sent you guys more information than you want to see, but Davidson County had their reappraisal reassessment this year, and so they had to equalize their tax rate, and they actually came back with about a 25% property tax increase above the equalized rate. So it's just something, not saying that we need to follow that same model, but try to give you an example of what that looked like. Turned out if we did that same process on a $400,000 home that appraised $400,000 4 years ago, it increased by 45%. That would put it at $580,000. 25% of that is the tax assessed value. And if we equalized our rate, or got our rate to equalize and come back at 25% higher, it would be about a $20 per month tax increase on that property, or $240 per year.
What do we think our tax rate will go down to this year?
Well, our tax rate won't go down this year. It's at,
We're 90,
we're still at 95.26, so I don't know what, I don't even
If we,
know how to speculate what it would be with the reassessment next year, but if it went down the same
if
way
our,
it
if our
is.
property owners, if our property assessments go up 45%, then our tax rate would have to drop to 67 cents per $100 of assessed value. So we'd go from 95 to 67.
I just want to read these highlights because, you know, there won't, hopefully there may be people to talk, but Aaron sent this just for us to be able to share. No property tax increase. Solid waste fee is increasing $2 a month. The Parks and the Golf Commission did raise rates at Old Fort to be able to get those more comparable to what the private sector is charging. 13 new police officers, 4 new crime data analysts, 2 crime scene investigators, 2 emergency communications specialists, dispatchers, 1 fire rescue medical training instructor, 2 Murfreesboro Transit bus drivers. I think we're also, see Russ out there, we have a date for the transit center yet, opening?
We've had several days.
Okay.
We're getting close.
All right. Next question. Development services, inspectors and planner positions, 2 parks and recreation positions, a 4% city general raise for all of our employees, 6% for public safety, multiple public safety equipments, multiple crime data equipment, including some additional license plate readers and camera systems for our parks trailheads. That's something we've heard from all of our residents. $51.5 million of MED sale proceeds for roads and parks. We're not spending into the principal balance that we had. That's something that the council had agreed that we were using those funds to not have to borrow money. Charitable donations are going up to $490,000 this year, an increase of $200,000 from when the council funded the strategic partnerships out of the general fund. So those are just a few of the highlights that the city teams worked really hard on.
And those positions, you know, I think it's important to understand, those positions are growth-related positions. I mean, as the city grows, you know, as our population grows and our services grow, our staffing grows, our equipment needs for those staff grow. So that's really what's driving that budget, I think.
Right.
And
Well-
doing more for the retirees.
Yes, that too, yeah.
We try to tie, and we've talked with department heads with their headcount projections that they gave us, 8-year headcount projections. We're trying to make sure that the integrity of those headcount projections are maintained.
Did our department heads have to cut a lot this year?
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
I will say, I think, you know, we tend to budget conservatively on revenues and expenses and budget for contingencies if something happens, if this machine breaks or whatever. And so we tend to see our departments do a great job managing their budgets and have budget savings at the end of the year. So we just requested that they reduce their budgets to be more in line with what's most likely to occur, what they're anticipating. And if we do have something unforeseen pop up, then that's an avenue to come back to council for a budget amendment if needed.
Great job to the department heads. I know that wasn't easy. Thank you.
Aaron, really the trick is the sales tax revenue just needs to hold up, and stay steady.
Yes, and I need to send this out to y'all, but we did get the results for this month's collections, and they're up 2.4% over last year. So we had a drop of 3.5% the month before, but we're back up 2.4% for the month this month. So it just keeps up and down, but I like the ups.
Just to give you an idea, our operating expense budget is 261 million. And if we realize a 2% savings on that, that's a $5 million underspent operating budget. So it's really tough to estimate that right on the money. So a 2% underspend is equal to a $5 million savings effectively.
I can't believe Aaron didn't, come in and say, well, a 2% overspend would also be $5.6 million too, so.
I just want you to know it was in my head, and I
Yeah, I
didn't,
know.
it really actually was. You know me too well.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Think of it that way.
We will have a budget hearing on this shortly after 6 o'clock. Does council members, y'all have any questions for our department heads or anyone who's here?
I just think we have the best department heads in the nation.
I agree. All right, if there's no questions, we will stand adjourned and we will start at 6 o'clock in the same room.